Welcome back to this special edition of RFL Behind the Badge Preventing Police Suicide. Sergeant Michael Savino, a trainer with the Nassau County Police Academy, he lost his best friend, fellow officer, a partner to police suicide 2 years ago. Although time has passed, he still feels both guilt and grief over the loss. And he shared his emotional story with our own Carolyn Fortino.
That's right, Rich. As you were about to see, this was not an easy conversation for Sergeant Savino. He came forward because he wanted others to know what happened and that there is always hope. He has not spoken publicly about the loss of his friend since he took his life 2 years ago. He told me how hard it was to watch his partner's mood and personality change in the year leading up to his suicide.
Sergeant Michael Savino has been a part of the Nassau County Police Department for 26 years. He began by patrolling the streets of the 3rd Precinct in Williston Park, transferred to the Aviation Bureau, and then took on training officer recruits at the Police Academy. But Sergeant Savino says the turning point in his career came when he met his partner.
I first met him when I got hurt and I went to the Air Bureau to convalesce. He was working there. And similar interests got us kind of together, boating and all the same interests. So he kind of took me under his wing, showed me around the place. And he was just a funny guy, so I didn't really want to be doing what I was doing at the time, light duty work. It was driving me nuts. So he kind of helped me through it, putting me in the right frame of mind to stay there without getting myself in trouble.
Sergeant Savino and his partner became close friends right away, spending many summers at Mount Sinai Harbor boating and fishing with their wives and children. But as the years passed, Michael began to notice subtle changes in his friend's personality. Michael struggled to understand what was happening, but the harder he tried, the more withdrawn his partner became.
It was a big effort to get him out of his house. Not laughing as much. I kind of joked about it with him, you know. We used to have belly laughs all the time. He would laugh till he cried, and I just wasn't seeing that in him. But, you know, I asked him 1,000 times, and we talked about everything, and everything was good, you know. He was just preoccupied, claiming it was, you know, something medical. I think it was an ear problem or something. It was always something that was just changing his mood, but he never opened up as to what was going on.
As more time passed, Sergeant Savino spent less time socializing with his partner. Their careers led them in different parts of the police force. It became more difficult for them to connect outside of work. And then one night in April of 2010, Sergeant Savino's life changed forever.
I tried throughout the weekend to get together with him, like we do. You know, he would try. I was busy. I would try. He was busy. And one particular night, he called up and asked me to come out, and I couldn't. So I said, I can't, you know. Just kind of an off-the-cuff invite. We both had to work in the morning. And I said, I can't come out. Kids, family, can't do it. So, yeah, that was the last time I spoke with him.
Michael's partner didn't show up for work the next day. After 2 days of frantic searching, fellow Nassau County police officers found his car parked on the edge of the water near the docks at Mount Sinai. It was empty except for a note saying goodbye to Michael and asking him to look after his family and his children. Michael was at the dock when rescuers pulled his friend's body out of the water.
Part of me was thinking that maybe he's all right somewhere. Maybe we got to find him because he's, you know, still alive. Or part of me was thinking that maybe it was just, you know, maybe he ran away, you know, hoping for the worst or hoping for the best. But you know, we all knew, you know, everybody knew that was looking for him. We're all looking for an excuse or some outside shot that it didn't really happen, but everybody knew. You know, he was one of those guys, when he did something, he did it right. And, you know, I knew the bottom line was what happened.
Do you ever look back and think that maybe there was something that you could have done?
Yeah, I think about that a lot. And I'd like to say it wouldn't have made a difference, but in my heart, sometimes I think, yeah, it would have, you know. Yeah, sometimes I think it would have. You know, I know that he had this planned out pretty well, so, you know, the logical side of me says it was going to happen one way or another. I know enough about it to say that people, when they're going to do something, they're going to do something. But, you know, the friend side of me says, yeah, I probably, you know, I wish I could have done something more. I wish I had gone there. You know, if had I known, of course, I would have been there. But, yeah, I think about that.
Sergeant Savino says the years since his partner's suicide have been emotionally draining and difficult. He spends a lot of time questioning himself and wondering why his friend didn't reach out to him sooner. But most of all, he says there is an empty space in his heart that will never be filled.
I'm a pretty closed person. I don't have a whole ton of friends, so close friends. So, you know, losing somebody like that has been hard. And particularly, I think it's this line of work. We feel like we got to help everybody, and you know, and I lost a good friend. You know, on top of, you know, bottom line is he was a great friend. So yeah, there's a lot missing in my life now. You know, and the second guessing, all that stuff aside, there's just a big void. You know, he was a good guy, and you know, it's just, you can't replace him.
Sergeant Savino says his firsthand experience with police suicide has changed him. 2 years after the death, overwhelming grief and heartache continue to haunt him every day. And each time he hears about another cop taking their own life, he wishes there was something more he could do.
I understand him not reaching out to me because I don't want to say I understand it, but to an extent I do. I mean, I'm part of this job, and I think he was nervous about letting anyone here know what he was going through. And, you know, even though I was his friend, I was still part of this. And I think he was afraid to let it out as to what he was going through, what he was feeling. So, but yeah, it drives me nuts. I wish he had. You know, I think about it all the time. I wish he had, but he didn't.
Again, that was the first time Sergeant Savino opened up about his partner's suicide. He told me that he did receive required counseling from Nassau County after his friend's death, but admits that he has not gone back for any additional counseling since then, even though, as you just saw, this is pretty difficult for him to talk about. Rich? You
know, Carolyn, what struck me about that was, as much as obviously this is still a very unresolved, very painful chapter in his life, he understood, it seems, why his partner didn't come forward to the department and ask for help, even though he was struggling, how he didn't even come to him for it. Because I guess this stigma, seemingly that's attached to officers that are going through hard times or that obviously have some very dark thoughts.
You know what, Rich, I really think that that's actually the root of this problem, and Sergeant Savino was able to articulate that in our interview. I think that all too often these cops are feeling depressed or having these thoughts of suicide, and they're just so afraid to come forward and admit that something is wrong. And while I was researching, you know, for this series, I found out that there's something on the force that's called the Rubber Gun Squad, where if you do come forward and admit that you might have a problem, your gun is taken away from you, you're placed on modified duty, and I think that these cops are just so afraid of being perceived differently by their peers and fellow members of the force.
And also, and even if it's not the case, that their careers will hit a roadblock once, if in effect they have to come forward and say, I need some help, right? All right, well, we're going to be talking about all that.